So let me ask it again, saying that two top areas where I can define that my customer is successful.
The
How I will do
biggest
that?
the biggest one is the adoption. How they are adopting the service now. If they are feeling comfortable with it, or they are actually very adaptive with this. So I think this is the first area from which we can check the customer success.
Yes, that's absolutely right. One is adoption of whatever solution, leave service now, but come what may, whatever we are giving them, if it is highly adopted, then that's the first parameter to check whether my customer is successful. What is the other one?
The business outcome that they are achieving out of the solution.
Business outcome. Okay. Who are the adopter of any IT solution, any software?
So Himanshu, it's the usability by the end users with respect to the system that they are working on.
Right. Absolutely. So end user who has to adopt this system, not only the end users, but especially there are different roles for which this system work, right? So every role has to adopt the system, not only one role. I hope the adoption is also have a multiple dimension. Dimension one is adoption, but adoption by different roles. So for an example, we have end users, we have agents, or the team who is fulfilling their request. Third is the approvers also, right? And fourth one is the management, correct? So all of them have to adopt the system. The second point is someone said outcome. So yes, it is how the senior management is looking at a system. Are they getting, not only senior management, but different people are getting the reports and outcome from it. So is I'm able to get the insight of what is the outcome coming out of this particular system. So these are the two main areas by which we will identify that my project is successful or my customer is successful. Okay, that's question number one. Question number two, while building the team, right, what are the areas we work upon when we have to build a great team? How we build the great team? Why they wanted to stick with us? Give me like top three areas you will adopt or you will employ to build the great teams.
The one, we have to work with them like a team member. I think in your previous session also you suggested this. If our team are working on weekends also, or on non-workings are also, so we have to support them. So I think this is the first parameter we have to take care.
Okay, what else?
Shaping up their careers, Himanshu. So we need to think in that direction, that how we can improve their usability or maybe improve their productivity going forward, and what can actually help them in their careers going forward, and we need to prepare them and build a career plan for them and their
Shaping up.
future.
Okay, so let me say it, shaping up their careers, right?
Right.
Perfect. Okay. What was your point, Charan? You said working with them. Uh,
Yes.
what do you mean by that?
I mean by that ki, let's suppose ki if anybody is manager or at higher position, so we don't have to think about the position or the post. We have to work with our team members like we are working with them as a friends, as a same teammates, so that they will feel comfortable with us, in exchanging their ideas, any concerns. So we have to work with them as a friends also, as a team members also, so that they will be comfortable with us.
Okay, so they are comfortable with us. Okay, what else?
Appreciations at the right time, and rewards to the teammates, team members.
All right. Okay. So
So
let me
uh,
go ahead.
okay, so there was a person named Tuckman. He gave basically a group development strategy basically a team development strategy, and he said that there are different phases when a team is developed. So there is a forming state, the first state. So this is kind of a linear model. There is a forming state where there is unclear purpose and little agreement between everyone. Then there is a storming phase in which there is a lot of conflict, but the clarity increases and the purpose increases, but there's a lot of power struggle between them.
Yeah. So Manav,
There is
yeah, Manav, I'm not going there. I know there are different stages of while forming the team. That could be a different session.
Right.
But let's say you have to form a team. What
Mhm.
you will do? It's not that what are the phases of uh, you know
So-
building a team. So
so-
I'm not talking about like storming then forming, right?
Right,
So
but if in a particular state, say for example, we move into a norming, so we know that we have to give the clear roles and responsibility for everyone. There is a lot of, there should be a facilitation of everyone, and be it reward or other such things, and there should be a clear vision and purpose, and delegation should be proper, something like that.
okay. I just take it. Anyone else wanted to talk about it?
So for me,
Be
this is Amir here.
communicative with them.
Come again.
We should be communicative with them.
Okay. What else?
Building the right skill set.
Yeah, shaping up their career, building up their right skill set. I think Charan, whatever you said or Manav you have said, if I just extract it in a word, I will say inclusivity with the team. Okay,
Yes.
whatever phase it is, if you are inclusive with your team, right? Whether they're working extra hours, or there is a different, let's say, storming phase. Whether you have to be communicative with them, you have to appreciate with them to them. So whatever it is, this is more of an inclusion. So if you are highly inclusive with your team, they are always stick with you, and they will do the work they wanted to work with you. Okay. So these are the few parameters like shaping up inclusiveness and doing a informal and formal relationship, make a formal and formal relationship with them. Very important. Rather than just keep a formal relationship, they can leave you any day. They can just say, okay, yeah, it's not working out for me. But if you have an informal relationship, they always really shift, because people are just not behind money. They value the relationship as much as the money, right? So I think these are the two things I wanted to start with. Now let me share my screen. And today's agenda, guys, is very separate what you have learned so far. I think if I just consolidate your training or your sessions, what was it? It was like, who are you? What are the roles and responsibility of this role? Then we walk you through of different models in terms of what is ServiceNow. So there was a ServiceNow training, there is a data modeling training, technical trainings, I will say. Then there were functional trainings, how to create a business requirement document, how to create a project plan, how to create a detailed project plan, right? Then how to build the teams. Um, then how to do the effort estimations. So I think these topics all were covered pretty well, and we also give you some assignments to work upon it so that you hone that skill, and now at least you are aware about it. Today's session is more of number game in terms of as I talked about, that this particular role is not just about delivering a project. So while you are delivering a project, you are in a you always wear a hat of a delivery manager. But the roles and responsibility of this team was delivering, team building. Uh, One more was customer success people, right? And fourth one was account management, isn't it? These were the four areas. You wanted to add something here? I think I have covered all four. Let me just say it again. Delivery manager, team builder, customer success officer, and account managers. So today's topic is the fourth one, which is the account management, and why I actually asked the leadership team also to join with me, because it's more of a revenue generation. So account management is more about numbers. So while so when you have delivered the project, your customer is successful, what next for you in that particular account? That is the account management. And there are few strategies, do's and don'ts, best practices while doing this. So let me share my screen. Okay. Are you able to see my screen? I hope yes.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, guys. So who we are a IT service organization, right? What else we do? These are the three things we do. What is the definition of Amorphous? Guys, quickly you have to talk.
It's an outcome-focused IT innovation managed services organization.
So outcome focus is okay. Then innovation is one thing we do. What else? Hello. So we do innovation. What else we do?
Advisory.
Advisory.
Advisory
services.
Absolutely. Consulting. What is the third thing we do?
Implementations.
What do you call it?
Delivery.
Services.
Services.
Right? Three things, guys. Innovation, advisory, and services. These are the three things we do. And for a company like us, which is innovation, advisory, and services organization, why it is important to do the account management. So I'll tell you why. First of all, is these are the few amazing facts. Amazon's 35% revenue come from the cross-selling and upselling. What do you mean by a cross-selling and upselling? I will tell more about it, but it is to their existing customers, selling something to their existing customer base, right? Any mid-size IT company which lies between 1,000 to 5,000 employees brings 75% of their revenue from just two customers on an average. Some may have three, some may have one. I have multiple examples. Their one customer is so big, or their two customers are so big that their 75% of revenue is coming from these two customers only. What does it mean? It means that they have done a fantastic job for these two customers, right? Then 1 out of 5 customers is unprofitable from the account management point of view in long run. That means, what does it mean? What I wanted to say here is, let's say there are 5 accounts, we are doing the account management. While we are doing the account management, we are actually increasing our cost to run that particular account, isn't it? We will have an account manager, or we will have a people dedicated to that particular account who is putting his bandwidth or her bandwidth towards account management. Not only that, we will do number of activities. So pre-sales will contribute, sales will contribute, the delivery head of a particular center will contribute. So there are multiple people who will contribute towards account management. So it's a effort which we are putting in. That means we are putting a cost to it. But in a long run, if we see, if we select 5 customers, one customer may be unprofitable, or we will not make any account management or any better revenue generation only with the 20% of it. The 80% we are successful. And last point is, if only 4% of the delivery team start thinking like sales team, it can contribute up to 40% of the revenue of IT service organization. So these 4 facts are from the Harvard Business School review case studies. So they came up with these 4 areas, and the 4th one is fantastic. What I mean, out of 100 people, out of 100 delivery team people, only 4%. What does it mean? Only 4 people in the delivery team start thinking like a sales team. They can contribute to the 40% of the revenue because they have the customer in hand. They have the existing customer in hand. What we have to do, just do a upsell and cross sell. So guys, isn't it fantastic? Facts and figures. And this is where lots of companies, IT organization companies, why they don't scale, because they focus on sales but not the account management, right? Amazon type of company which has a billions of revenue, they're 35% revenue coming from existing customer. So for us, for any company, existing customer base is the very important base by which we can go get up to 40% of our revenue. Now there are two activities while you are doing account management. There are two activities you have to do. One is a retention, another one is a growth, and they both are the different activities. It's not that we are asking you to just retain it, we are just asking you to grow it. It is a retention and growth. So these are two different goals and two different mindset, right? And the same person can wear a hat of a customer retention, another customer, and the same person can wear a hat of customer growth, right? So it's not that we need just two people. We may need two people if the account is very big, right? But the same person can do both the things. In this, I think retention, I think everyone is clear, right? We have to do the contract renewals. Our revenue is always sustainable in the account. And growth is, in the numbers, is bringing the new sales, right? And how we generally do it? By ensuring the client satisfaction. This is the primary thing. If the client satisfaction is not there, you can't retain the customer, leave the growth. Though I will conflict my statements, but in the next slides, but retention and growth is the two different goals of the account management team, and this will bring up to 40% of the revenue. So I hope everyone is clear here. Guys, any questions here? Should I move on, or it is a good start, and let's see how we can do it?
Yes, sir, it is fantastic.
Awesome. Okay, let's move on. Again, some facts and figures. As I said, account growth model has two areas. One is retention, another where we just focus on product success, customer success. Our services are pretty good. And nowadays we call it backward looking strategy. However, there is a forward looking strategy where we say retention is one part, but I am actually contributing into the customer or account growth from our point of view. So here the business side, correct, also come into the picture. So you can't be just go on those days when we were heavily focused on just customer success, or my project is going very well, my customer satisfaction score is pretty good. So customer satisfaction score or net promoting score, many companies actually find out what is my NPS. Many companies find out what is my customer satisfaction, right? So I will talk about other metrics in the next slide, but retention plus growth, that's the overall goal here. And as I said, there are different mindset. Sometimes there are different roles. There are different peoples. There are different people who actually do different role for it. But at this size of our company, we really don't need two different people handling it. The second thing is, the second figure is 28% leaders believe in that they only get, let's say, only 28 companies out of 100 companies, they believe that they are meeting their account management target, account growth targets. Rest of them, you can see like 51% say no, we never get our account growth targets. 21 is neither. So only 28% companies are getting. So for an example, Amazon is saying that, I am getting my targets, and their target is, let's say, 38%. But yes, at least they are reaching up to 35%. What about us? I don't have that metrics today. I have started building that metrics, that where we are hitting. And I'm very sure that in my last few calls, which happens on the account management for North team and South team, I'm focusing on making the metrics, measure it, and we will mature from here after this awareness session today. Right? So we have to be in this 28% bracket, guys, not in this 72% bracket. I'm moving on. All right. So what is account management? As I said in my previous slides and my previous session, there are two things, right? Customer service, where we are a delivery people. We focus on customer support, we focus on customer success. The second thing is the consumption. Many of you said how we actually define the customer success by adoption. This is more of an adoption, and this is more of a value outcome coming from our services. And the third one, which is the account growth, which is hunting. So, you know, almost 20,000 years ago, even 10,000 years ago, we were hunters and gatherers, right? We were not farmers. So this agriculture, what farming we do today, it is a recent phenomenon. So I think generally I'm reading a book nowadays, and I really like the concept called is it the we domesticated the agriculture, or agriculture domesticated us? That's the biggest fraud in the history. So looking at it, the hunting, correct? The account growth comes with hunting, not with customer service. So this is the mindset, and I'm talking about here also the mindset change. Make it part of daily work routine, rather than there is no tool really to switch on and switch off. Okay, today I am a delivery guy, today I am a account management guy. No, it's a day-to-day. It's a mindset change, that how I can carry both the responsibility, but three things together. My services are awesome, my customer is getting value, and I am able to grow that account. These are the three things I can carry. This is a mindset change. And this is a post-sales role, right? Means my sales is done, my services are going on or have been completed. After that, this account management happens. And what we have to do here is focus on client relationship. Then managing the relationship between the client and sales. Probably our sales will also push you back, saying that, I need to talk to the customer again and again. Customer satisfaction. You know your customer best. You have a day-to-day talk, day-to-day transaction with them. And finally, creating the lead generation. I will talk about it in the next slide better. But lead generation. So, and what are our instruments of doing this? Our instruments are, first of all, as I said, that mindset change. Correct. Second thing is a very, very easy for the account growth. Today I'm not talking about customer success. You already know it. The only topic today is account growth. So the change requests, CRs we generally call them. It is one of the easiest way of doing the account growth in the numbers. So you will find small opportunities which is not part of the scope, or which is going out of, which can give the value to the customer, or service, or the customer is in a need of something. So we can take out a very small part and say, sir, we need a change request of a small amount. And this is the easiest one. Why? Because customer always have a buffer of money or the budget. So they will not. We are not going there and hitting saying that, hey, I need a $500,000 change request. So that's not a change request. That's a project in itself. That's probably upselling and cross-selling. But change request is a smaller amount. SOW we signed with the customer to add a very immediate value to the customer, right? Which is something probably a month or 2 months man-month work probably, or even a smaller piece. So that's a change request. The other instruments of doing this account growth is upselling, cross-selling. I will talk about it. Idea-led growth. So innovation or R&D based growth and marketing. So these are the few instruments by which we can do the account growth. Upselling, cross-selling, I will talk in the next slide. But what is idea-led growth? Guys, any idea on this? What I mean by idea-led growth? Hello, hello. Guys, please speak up. I'm not talking to a wall.
No, we are just thinking. Idea-led growth
I think
term is
these
new, but
are
it may be related to something which is not out of the box. So we just
Himanshu, I think these are idea-driven growth. So if we are getting some ideas,
Give me example. Let's talk. Let's be very practical in today's session. I don't have too much to share. It's more of an interaction and brainstorming and probably awareing about what is account management by different instruments. So change request, I think everyone understand it. Anyone who does not understand it, I can explain it again. Please raise your hand or speak up that I don't understand change request or any question on change request. Should I take the silence as all of us knows it or we don't know it? I think everyone knows
yes, we know.
yes, we know it.
it. Right? Upsell, cross-sell, leave it. Idea-driven growth, idea-led growth is a parameter. So what happens is why we ask you to attend some trainings on now learning. You will learn something about CMDB. You will learn something about ITSM. You will learn something about CSM. Any particular module, isn't it? Tell me something, a new learning you have done from now. It is not that you don't know it. It is that it hit you today. You probably know incident management, but there are many features of incident management which probably you are not aware that system provides that. Take few examples. Give me few examples which you know incident management or CMDB or something, but you got to know something which was always there or which is something new ServiceNow has came up.
Yes, I can give plenty example which I learned recently. Am I audible, Himanshu?
Yes, Anuj.
Yes. So there was an interaction table. I didn't know that we already have interaction table which we can use. So for one of the community forum, we are using that. It is already inbuilt feature by the ServiceNow. So we don't need to create our custom tables, and we get to know when we had a discussion. Like
Yeah, very good, very good. Actually, you believe me. Even I was not knowing that there is an interaction table.
yeah.
Right.
And certain ideas I have given to my teams while we were developing. So when we were developing that forum, so I felt they were refreshing the complete page. So I asked them to do the partial page refresh. So they said, "What is this?" I said, "Normally when we develop these applications in .NET or in web applications, so there is a partial page refresh, and I did it many times. So there must be something here also." So they search it and they find that there is a record watcher which they can use to update only a partial part of the page, like a widget. So
Yeah.
then everyone knows about record watcher, right?
Absolutely.
So that is something team also get to know. I knew it, but I don't know what is the term which is used in ServiceNow.
Right. So
There also I learned-
the examples you have taken, Anuj, is very valid from the technical point of view. Correct. Give me some example. Anuj, you stop here. I will ask others. Give me one example which were the ideas you got or you are getting while reading something, by getting into a training, which is business oriented, like which can generate revenue for me. No one. Is it that bad?
Himanshu, revenue generation, I don't know, but yesterday in training, Akanksha, explained us how we can, make us, how we can fulfill this
So
customer.
that was
Sorry, go ahead, Charan.
Yeah. So yesterday, Akanksha explained that how we will gain the feedback from customer that it's that the delivery given by us is successful by giving them the videos. Basically we are providing them the user manual. But Akanksha told us that it will be very beneficial if we'll share the video to them. I think this is one of the idea I gained yesterday only.
Again, it's a very specific to your customer success, customer delivery. Yeah.
Yes.
My today's topic, guys, is absolutely towards account management. The way you can generate revenue from the customer by showing them, that's what we can achieve.
Uh, Himanshu, Shubham here. I can give one example, but I'm in a dilemma that may be a part of the upsell. But once there was this client who was using Trello for creating the cards for their agile development and then moving it, signing it to the team. So we were not. Then later, I go through the documents and I was going through one training, and I found out that we can do it using the visual task with ServiceNow itself. And when we pitched it to the client, they really liked the idea, and they start doing it, creating the cards, moving it, assigning it the priority, and assigning it to the team on the ServiceNow itself. And basically, we avoided using Trello. So
Yeah. Very good
that was
example, Shubham. Yes, this is a good example in terms of rather than they are using a reporting engine which is outside ServiceNow, why not we suggest them you use a performance analytics feature of ServiceNow so that your data is in ServiceNow and use that in ServiceNow only. Why to even invest, or even if you are spending already, stop that, right? So replace it with the performance analytics feature of ServiceNow. Correct? That's one idea.
correct.
Another idea, let me take it. They are using, let's say, ITSM or CSM module. Can't we push them to use ITSM professional version or customer service management professional version? Because with the professional version, what they will get? They will get, so they will get something chatbot, right? So chatbot is something AI ML based chatbot, which is something new nowadays while talking to the customer. And ServiceNow has done a wonderful work in the chatbot that they have taken it out from a particular rigid way. So now it is an API based. So you can put that chatbot anywhere in any portal in the world and use it. If they have ServiceNow and they have a different customer portal, they are not using, let's say, ServiceNow portal, right? They are using a portal which is not a ServiceNow portal. Still, ServiceNow chatbot can work on that portal because now it is an API based communication. So see, another idea. Third idea could be, okay, your UI UX user experience is not great. Why not you invest a small amount and let's say $5,000, $10,000, and why not we make a great portal for you? Why not we actually move in and make a mobile app for you, which is highly compatible and user experience oriented, right? So the fourth idea. Nowadays, I'm talking about CSDM. Many people are talking about CSDM. Already, every customer has CMDB. So, moving their CMDB towards CSDM approach or best practices will need lots of work, right? At least a month or 2 months effort from our side. So, if they can improve on CSDM, they can improve their CMDB. Why not go with CSDM and tell them, sir, I got an idea, right? So idea driven growth, and these could be upsell, these could be cross sell, these could be change requests, but you get a growth and customer get a growth, isn't it? Few very simple example I have taken. um, um, I think you are okay with it. You have understood what I have said on the idea driven growth. We read something new, we tell it to customer, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
The next is, let's say, R&D based growth. What does it mean? Innovation. We do innovation, right? Tell me some example of it. What do you think about innovation based growth?
PII.
PII, yes.
Yes, I was. Yeah.
Yes. So we have a product called PII where we can do the data localization. Now every customer has a compliance issues that my data should not go out of my premise or out of my country. So why not we propose them, sir? Okay, why you are so worried? We already have a app which can do it for you in 5 minutes. PII is one example. What else?
So basically, this is Shubham here. So something which was already, we are not creating something new, but once one client has asked us that whatever you are offering us is more of the IT to the user driven. So it is not adding any value to my IT. So give us something which would be more of the IT to IT driven. So then we had to do the research and we need to find out some ways where we can add value to their IT to IT.
Yeah. Okay.
GVP.
Come.
I have an
Anuj, I'm missing you. Anuj.
GVP.
Tell me more about it.
The what was in HCL? So there was a basically what we are doing in MSP environment. So we are
Yeah.
standardizing certain workflows and sharing it with the customer so that they are onboarded with a set of configuration and customization.
Very good idea. Yes, very good example, Manav. So something which is pre-built, correct? So you have already spent your time and your mindset, your energy in building something and then giving it as a product to the customer, right? That is a R&D or innovation led growth. One example PII, another example is, let's say, GVP, as Manav said, like blueprint. We already created a blueprint for customer service management, let's say. So why not we just offer it as a solution rather than saying that, and our MSP, great example, we are a MSP partner now, right? So we have already built up a ITBM on our part, and we are using it, correct? All our timesheets, and we are maturing it slowly and gradually. What will happen to tomorrow? My customer, I will look at, they have a complex project management scenario. They fill their timesheet on some very old portal. Uh, is it giving them a bench report? Is it giving them, how my projects are doing? Or even they are using Jira. Let's say they are using Jira for their project management. Can we put a layer on top of Jira? Because Jira is for the developers. It's not really meant for, it is meant for everyone, but for the senior management, why they will go to Jira, correct? Why not we create a dashboard on ServiceNow integrated with Jira and create that dashboard on ServiceNow, right? And for this, we have already built up something on ITBM. We can show it to them. Then different apps we are creating nowadays. We are digitalizing the whole journey inside Morphus, right? Recruitment app we are building, onboarding, offboarding we are building, lots of other things we are building. So these all apps which we have built, we are building, we can sell them, we can put them as a growth pointers in a particular customer. So pick let's say pick a customer where you while entering into the customer premise you have taken 30 minutes. Look at the experience you are getting, because lots of things are manual. Now why not we built a visitor management application which is already in place, by the way, for us, and we tell customers that it's so bad, it took me 20 minutes come to you from your gate to your seat. So I wasted my 20 minutes and you are also getting irritated because I'm getting late for the meetings. So why not I give you a visitor management solution on ServiceNow, which you already using ServiceNow, and spend some more money and do it. So that's an innovation-led growth. And guys, last thing, very big missing piece is marketing. I'll talk about it in the next slide in detail, but this is something I think very first step missing in the account management, even in the sales. And this I learned very hard way. I used to think, okay, do the sales. So what is the difference between a sales and marketing? Marketing make your sales proactive, or marketing bring the sales in your inbox. However, sales is something you reach out to the customer, hitting them, saying that, hey, I can do it for you, this and that. But marketing make it so easy, and even it actually drive your sales towards. So it's like this: customer reach out to you if you do the market well, and if you just do the sales, you reach out to the customer. That's the difference between marketing and sales. I hope it is clear, right? Should I say it again?
No, it's clear.
Yeah, okay.
It's clear.
So marketing is something which we don't do because we think, okay, if we just go there and do our job and come back. But have you spoken about your organization? Have you spoken about what else we are doing? No, right? So we are big way missing the marketing, and hence the account management become a challenge. I'm telling you, if you do the right marketing, all of this will be very smooth. You will win 50% of the game. All right, I'm moving on just to tell you the difference between upsell and cross sell. So upsell is something, selling something better. Let's say Amazon, correct? So you are buying something and it is trying to sell you something expensive. So you are buying something, a jacket of, let's say, 6,000 rupees, but it is saying, okay, why not, just go ahead and buy this because you will like it. It's a better quality or something, right? So that's upsell. Cross sell is, selling something which is complementary to it, plus sign, correct? So you are buying a cow. This cow cannot live without this. So sell this as a package, as a bundle, right? So combo. So you are buying a digital camera, but have you SD card? Do you need this as well? So selling this in a combo. I think the upsell and cross sell definition will become very easy by understanding it. Sometimes we make mistakes. So now, can you give me some practical example of upsell and cross sell?
So N95 mask and then moving to N99 mask, and having a N95 mask and then also getting a sanitizer along with it.
Yeah, very good example. Take ServiceNow. Can you give me an example of ServiceNow? What is upsell and cross sell?
So ITSM to ITSM professional would be upsell, and then if you're selling CSM or SAM, that will be cross selling.
Yeah, absolutely. And selling the professional services it will automatically fall under cross sell, right? They can't live without professional services. So they have to,
Right.
we have to bundle it.
Right.
Yeah. So selling the other products is cross sell, and moving from one product to a higher product, it is upsell. But what do you think? What is more important, upsell or cross sell? Both are important. I'm not saying upsell or it's not, or cross sell is not important. But what is more important? If I have to create a metric, where I will focus more? Come again?
Cross sell.
Cross sell.
Why?
Cross-sell.
Why?
See, at least my understanding is like this, right? If you see,
We can do upsell again.
Sorry, one by one. Hemant, you go first.
yeah, see, if you're selling ITSM, right, and say I'm just saying ITSM, right, and then discovery, okay, or like say SAM, let's take SAM, right? So it might always be the case that tomorrow there might be a better ITSM solution, okay, or a better SAM solution, okay. And if you are from ITSM to ITSM Pro, and your customer ditches that and then goes for some, say, BMC new solution, you still have SAM with that, right? Because the chances of SAM getting hit is, both of them getting hit at the same time is very lesser. But yeah, if you just focus on ITSM and then higher versions of ITSM, if someone comes up with a superior version of it, right? BMC Remedy, we have Sharewell, we have HP, ITSM, so many, right? Then you are in trouble.
Okay. What else? Good examples. What else?
Sir, Radhika this side.
Yeah.
So cross-sell would be a better option because by cross-selling and providing some different solution, we will be attacking on some of the other challenges for the customer also. That will going to help us realize that we are not only just looking about placing one solution and we are done with our job, but we are considering the environment and the other challenges that the customer is facing.
Okay. What else? What are the core things? I'm not even. I've not got there. What are the core things? Why upsell is important or more superior than cross sell, or why cross sell is more superior than upsell?
Sir, I just wanted to add on something.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, cross selling में benefit ये है कि that we will get more revenue by selling more products. Like एक अगर हम अभी किसी के पास ITSM है, ITSM Pro होगा तो जो difference amount है वो कम बढ़ेगी. लेकिन अगर हमने ITSM के साथ CSM sell किया तो that will like generate more revenue. मतलब पहला point है. लेकिन upselling में एक plus point जो मुझे लगता है वो ये है कि उसमें हम अपना specialization show कर सकते हैं that we are very specialized in this domain.
Okay. Anyone else wanted to try?
Cross-sell is very important for us from services perspective because even if we just do upsell, in terms of licensing or, the product upgrade, that is more beneficial to ServiceNow rather than us as a service company. So if I do a cross-sell, I get licenses plus services.
Okay, valid point. Valid point. So ticket size of my sales is much higher than in cross-sell than upsell on an average. Not exceptions are always there, but yes, cross-sell is the valid point. What else?
Cross-sell creates more opportunity for upsell.
Very good. Who said it?
Anurodh.
No. Okay. Okay. All right. That's very valid point. But there is one missing point. Still one missing point. Why multinational companies focus more on cross-sell than upsell?
Himanshu, maybe the scope for the maintenance or the support will increase.
So that's one part, right? You are able to sell more. You are getting more revenue for sure. That's one.
I think it's better to deal with a single service provider rather than multiple. So companies are looking forward, for the solutions from the same existing service provider.
That's a company point of view. Like SBI Cards wanted to invest, they will always evaluate first ServiceNow rather than any other solution because they already have ServiceNow in place. But from a services organization point of view, cross-sell is more important than upsell. So,
I Himanshu, just one point here. Maybe it is because, what are you trying to hit in terms of revenue, bottom line or your top line? When you hit your bottom line, that gives you the better profit margins than your top line when you're trying to hit with the upsell. So a lot of times organizations go for services kind of a revenue more than license resell, though it definitely adds value.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm not denying any fact here. There are very beautiful points which you brought up. So few points were cross-sell actually give you more opportunity to upsell. Right? That's one. Second, cross-sell give you better ticket size on the sales side than upsell. 90% yes. Because upsell could be just a 15%, 20% higher of whatever they have already bought up. But a very important point. You remember I said IT organization or mid-size or IT organization, their 75% revenue come from two customers on an average, right? What happened there is you actually diversify and talk to so many different people in the organization. Reason being, the person who is heading the help desk and a person who is who need software asset management are the two different teams, right? Now, today, let's say you are doing a fantastic job in ITSM or setting up their help desk, but somehow you made some blunder and this guy become against you. That's one point. Some other point is, let's say your champion moved away, he left the organization, and you are dealing with a new stakeholder, whatever you have implemented for them, and this guy is not going well with you. You know, he has his old connection, he wants them in place. So looking at the services business, advisory business, everything is services, right? Ultimately, even a product company is selling the product as a service. So everything as a service nowadays. So what happens is we are mitigating our risk. Number one, that we are dependent on a person, we are dependent on a team. So we are mitigating it by spreading our horizontal and vertical relationship in the customer. Second, definitely one is risk. Another thing is while working for them, we have to increase our revenue, because 40% of our revenue can increase by doing a great account management, right? There are high chances if this champion who for him or for someone we are working, he will introduce you to the other stakeholder in the company, and you can take it forward to the other accounts. But main game is two things. One is mitigate your risk. You should not get away. You have to retain the customer. Not only retain the customer, grow the customer. So retaining is one strategy, while moving to different departments, selling them something. Second thing, you are growing the account by better ticket size and many other things. And while you are doing more cross sell, you can do upsell again and again. So pick a bank. If you got a bank account in ICICI Bank, the next day onwards, they will start calling you for the insurance. And you know, all these companies, all these banks, or even you know, these B2C companies, especially B2B is definitely there, but B2C companies, their metrics of account management team is how many cross sell you have done, not on how much upsell you have done. So upsell is just a small parameter with a small weightage of 10%, but 90% weightage is given to the cross sell. So that's why I made this slide, so that we understand where we should have inclination and what upsell and cross sell mean. I hope it is clear, guys. All right, I'm moving on. Yes. So dark side of the account management. So far it was, you know, all gloomy. We have to grow our account. We have to retain our account. I think I made a mistake here by putting the wrong. Okay, now it is fine. So dark side of the account management. First of all, not every customer is an ideal customer for the account management. How many of you agree to this? You can't do the account management everywhere. So we have to identify the customers. We have to identify the accounts. A mid-sized company, a mid-sized IT company with 1,000 to 5,000 employees. Do you know how much average customer they have? How many? Any guess? Like how many average customer generally? You talk to any mid-sized company. So pick some companies like Nagarro, UST Global, Microland, Infobeans, so many mid-sized IT companies in India, right? On an average, what is the number of customers they are dealing with?
Mid-size would be okay. Mid-size would be around 50. That would be it.
Okay, someone else wanted to try?
So usually these companies have customers base around 100-150, but their top focus is always on 50.
Yeah. What else? Any other guess? What is the average customer number with these companies?
150.
150. Okay. So the average number with these companies goes between 200 to 250 customers. However, they have very active customer less than 50, platinum customer less than 10, and gold mine only top 3, top 5. That's all. That's what it is. Correct? That means what we mean by this, out of 250 or 200 customers, my 5 customers are those customers which are my gold mine. Correct? What is the percentage? If I have to take out the percentage, just 2%. 2% of my customer. Inmorphis has 26 customers today. But how many are my gold mines and how many are my top customers? Probably I'm focusing on only 6 customers this year. And I know out of those 6 customers, probably 3 customers will work out very well. Isn't it? I gave you Inmorphis. Inmorphis is not a mid-sized company yet. We are a small organization, right? So what does it mean is we have to identify our customer very nicely, because read it. Effort spent on a non-potential customer could cost us 70% of our total effort we put in the account management. That means our 70% time can be wasted on those accounts, on those customers. And the data I'm talking about came from Gartner, Harvard, Forbes. This data is not created by me, guys. So 70% our effort can be wasted. And think about the money we are spending. So pick many customer. You can take many customer name where you think it is a potential customer. Okay, take North India, right? Take US, take South India. Can you give me one customer name which has a potential, and can you tell me another customer name which has very less or no potential?
Charan, you want to go? You want to go for the name?
Himanshu, can you once again explain your
potential question was from North India accounts. Who could be our potential customer of growth? And
Yes.
One name where we believe that though we have the account, but it cannot be a potential in future. Maybe that growth that we're looking at.
Okay, so potential accounts are SBI card and Airtel. And from where we cannot, we are not forecasting any revenue is Avaso, I think.
Yes. What else? South may we can talk about something similar.
Himanshu, for the potential customer, we can talk about Amrit.
Amrit, yes. And what do you think about non-potential customer in South? You do what? they will not give you business.
Maybe me can you?
Kotak.
Very good example. I wanted to hear this name. Who said it? Who said it? Sorry. Is it Mihir or Nihir?
It was Mihir.
Okay.
Mihir.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so potential accounts are Amrit, Olam, and Traxxas.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's a priority. There's priority to it, but yes. So how we can identify that this is a potential customer or not? One thing is, guys, the scale of the customer. The Airtel scale is not only India. Airtel is in Africa, in Sri Lanka, and even it is the second biggest telco in India, and 4th largest in the world. Correct? So look at the potential they have. They spend close to $600 million every year on their IT. Isn't it a potential customer? Yes, it is. But still, sometimes being potential looks just looking at the potential and IT spend, the customer may work for us or may not work for us. It might be a potential customer for us, or it may not be a potential customer for us, even if they have a scale. Kotak Mahindra Bank, Kotak Mahindra Bank is a great example of not a potential customer for us at this point of time, while Kotak Mahindra Bank is the third largest private bank in India, right? Though they spent heavy on their IT, they have a big potential, but it's still not a potential customer for us. So this is something we have to brainstorm and tell that this particular year, this particular quarter, this is my potential customer or not. Raxis is a government agency, right? They don't do any business really. They are a cost center for a government, but yes, a big potential for us, right? Second thing is, I wanted to take example of Airtel here while explaining this point. Then in a potential account, sometimes it takes 2 to 3 years to take out something, because in a potential customer, they have bought up something pretty big, and we are trying to sell something, but it may take some time. We can't leave that account if it is a potential customer. Not just, again, potential customer not based on their ID spend or their size, but it is a potential customer for me, right? So Airtel, this particular year, so we are associated with Airtel since 2017. It was a big deal when we did it. And after that, what happened is Airtel went down and down and down. Every year, the revenue coming from the Airtel is going down. Even last year, it was like almost negligible in front of our revenue today. But we were always strict to the ground of Airtel. There are two reasons of it. One reason was Airtel helped us to crack multiple accounts. Rather than giving us a hard equity, it actually helped us proactively cracking multiple accounts. Take the name SBI Cards. SBI Cards reference call was done by Airtel, which changed everything for us. Another account I can take, let's say Boston Consulting Group, BCG. BCG actually helped, Airtel helped us to crack this account. Olam, totally by Airtel, right? So Airtel was directly not a potential customer for us in 2018 and 19, but it gave us so much reference. It helped us to crack the accounts, right? Second thing, this particular year, I am hoping Airtel will give us a very big order. So when I say it was a potential account, we can't just say it in a short term. Sometimes it is a long term, and sometimes it is the soft value it is giving us by cracking different accounts. I hope I'm making sense here. I think you are understanding what I'm talking about while I'm giving example, practical example of Airtel. Pick other example. For an example, BCG, Boston Consulting Group. People may not know Airtel in US, but everyone knows BCG in US, Boston Consulting Group, right? But it is not a potential customer for me. It didn't help me, neither it helped me in generating more revenue. Small revenue is coming. That is not a potential. I'm not spending my energy there. Second, neither it helped me to crack the other accounts. And their revenue is probably more than Airtel revenue today, right? So these are the few examples I wanted to tell that how to identify a potential customer. And even then the potential customer not only getting their direct revenue, they can help you getting the indirect revenue by helping you giving the reference, right? That's the beauty here. So identifying the right customer for the account management is very important. Otherwise, we will spend our 70% of the time in unnecessary thing and we will not get any sales, direct or indirect. Now, what are the bad apples? How you will identify that my customer is not my potential customer, right? How we can do it? These are some traits. I'm not just saying that this is 100% thumb rule. These are few traits where you can identify that this customer, this is not really going well with me. First is service demander. A customer who gave you a P of 100 rupees or $100 and asking you every time, once is okay, I will settle, give me more service, I will settle it down somewhere. But he's just keep asking you more services and services and services, right? These are typical bad customers. Second thing is, they actually call everyone in the call. If let's say they give you a PO of only 100 rupees, but they will call your CEO. They will call everyone in the company. Oh, come on the call. I wanted to discuss this with you. Why? So you are actually blocking the bandwidth of everyone in the company for a 100 rupees PO. We don't need this 100 rupees PO. Sorry. So these are the service demanders, bad customers. Again, no customer is bad. Pardon my language today, but it is more of a informal talk we are doing. Maximizers. They will ask you the deep discount. Let's say you fix the rate with a customer that, okay, I will charge you 100 rupees per hour, right? Or $100 per hour. Even you have signed the MSA, you have signed everything, but this customer, every time, every case, will go ahead and I will ask you, oh, see, once in a while it's okay. First deal is okay. First two deals are okay. But after that, every time if you are hearing from them, hey, your rate is high, can I do it in 50 rupees per hour? Then why you signed the MSA with us? We signed a MSA. Please regard that. Please respect that MSA, right? So wherever you see these traits also means in the potential in the future, hard chances that the customer will entertain you. This is not really a potential customer. And finally, a reverser. Many customers buy the services or the product, but they will reverse it. Right? I took the name also here. L&T Infotech, Next Gen Data Center. These guys actually bought everything, Next Gen. They bought everything for 3 years. And all of a sudden they came and said, I don't need the license. I have found the other product in the market. Let's terminate my contract. And they signed a 3-year non-cancelable, non-refundable contract with us. After that, they cancelled it from their side. And we were into a hell lot of dark side, right? We paid it to ServiceNow, and ServiceNow was enjoying that, and customer never paid to us, and it is the same status today, right? So reversers, we have to take care of these customers. L&T Infotech, another story. L&T being so big company, right, is a reverser in itself. So guys, this is my my practical is few facts and figures are from Gartner and all, but I try to make it very, very practical. Whatever I have experienced, our company have experienced. So this slide was, not every customer is a potential customer. We have to identify the right customer who pay us well, with whom we enjoyed working. We see it is a great potential, business potential, spend good amount of money on IT, and then don't have these traits. Once in a while it works, but not every time. Sorry. And finally, a big company, a potential customer may take some time to convert into account management. But while we are expecting a direct revenue from them, we can expect a indirect revenue. If you are not getting indirect also or not direct also, then there is no point. Airtel, generally people ask me, why we are running on a margin of 1% with Airtel in 2018 and 2019. The only reason was that every year Airtel helped me to crack minimum 2 accounts. That was the reason. I hope it is clear. Any questions here? Should I move on? All right. Okay. I'm moving on. The next. I think next, I don't have, much to show, but yes, very important slides again. What we should do so let's consolidate. We understood what is account management. It is not only the retention, it is retention plus growth. We have also understood different instruments by which we can do the account management, right? We can do a small change request. We can do upsell. We can do cross sell. We can do idea driven growth. We can do innovation driven growth, marketing. I think marketing I have not covered. Yes, I will cover it. Marketing, right? These are the instruments we generally do. Upsell, cross-sell, I think we have understood pretty well what is the difference between them and why to focus more on cross-sell, right? Rather than upsell. Because cross-sell can help you doing upsell. And cross-sell is the main leader in risk mitigation. You will always able to retain the customer if you will keep doing the cross-selling, because now you are one department to another, another to another, right? Every customer is not a customer for the account management. And finally, what we should do, what we should not do while doing the account management. So let's do some don'ts first. First thing during the upsell, which I wanted to also talk about, that customer has a limit of spending on a particular product, on a single product, right? So our department always get a budget. So you can't do one thing that you will ask them to spend 2x on the help desk itself. So upsell, sometimes people don't go with it because they say, yeah, my budget is over. I can't spend a single dollar now on this help desk tool, right? If we have just CSM or ITSM in place. So do not try to just focus on one area. That's the learning here. Because not only that risk mitigation, but customer does not have budget. So you will make a mistake just focusing on one department and one department. Then what next? We forget to take the referral from the customer. Airtel's super example is customer didn't helped us directly, but indirectly a lot, right? So take the referral from the customer. This is another strategy of account management. So sometime I ask you, okay, this customer is not working out. This customer is not giving us something. Can we ask them reference? Can they tell me, okay, I can't do it, but I have a connect in this company and I can connect you and go ahead and present your solution. That's where it is. So by hitting the same account, you are doing the account management, but then this time you are doing a cross-selling in a different company. I hope I'm making sense. So cross-selling or selling in a different company using the same customer. That's where the referral come into the picture a lot, right? The third mistake we do. So this is a mistake we do is that the potential customer is there. The customer has a potential, but not coming at direct revenue. In indirect revenue also we are not targeting. The third point is about wrong stakeholder. So for an example, we don't go up in the ladder. So we are making a relationship with the customer who is a help desk owner. We are able to sell him. But he's not the right stakeholder, or probably has only a smaller vision, right? He has a very short sighted, or he just take care of the help desk. He's not beyond it, correct? He's not a VP. He does not have the visibility what else is happening in the organization. So you can't do the account management. Forget it. So connecting to the right stakeholder in the organization, different departments, and the senior people, let me say it again, senior people, is you can do the better account management rather than stick to a lower level person. Pick any example, guys, if you can take it up. Anyone wanted to give the example that we were stuck with the wrong stakeholder and then found that nothing is happening in the account? And then we moved up. Go ahead.
Yeah, Himanshu, I think you know our example, right?
Yes, I know, but say it. Say it so that everyone listen to it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so in Raxis, right, which is an account we are running from Bangalore. It's like Himanshu said, it's a government entity. It's based in Emirates, right? United Arab Emirates. We were talking to the delivery head of the Bangalore office. They have an offshore center. It's in Bangalore. And when we initially came in, we thought that they were decision makers, but later on when we found out that, the actual power center is in like the people who make decisions, right? They are based offshore in Ras Al Khaimah itself. Okay. And what we were talking to were influencers. And yeah, that came back to bite us actually. But yeah, then we had to adapt, right? And we did. But yeah, that's yeah, we were struck with the wrong stakeholders, right? And what they were telling us in terms of vision, where they see it going and everything, in reality, it did not work out because yeah, the actual decision makers, actual users, they were all in Emirates, right? So yeah,
absolutely
that
great example. Even forget the account management, guys. In this account, we thought we will not get the money for our services also because we were stuck with the wrong people. And as soon as we actually got the right people, we are getting our money. Not only that, we are actually presented 2 new proposals to the account. Game of stakeholders. I can take another example. Olam. Olam, I was stuck with just one person for 9 months. And 10th month, when I able to crack this lead, this particular sales, only thing I changed was I moved up 1 step up to the CIO level, and the CIO gave a green signal within 15 days. 9 months I wasted. Think about it, right? I can take many other examples, but I want you to share other example if you have, else we will move on. All right. I'm moving on. I think everyone have understood it. Don't let customer overuse our services. Plus minus 5% chalta hai, but not beyond it. Sorry. Have you ever seen in the COVID time, the customer actually asked us to give the discounts? We gave them discounts, right? They also reached out to ServiceNow and they said, ServiceNow, give us 30% discount on the licensing. ServiceNow said, whether you use it or don't use it, no discount. Think about it. I understand our scale is different. We can't do this today. But at least we can do it up to a certain level. We can do it 7%, 5%, 10%, but not beyond it. And say, sorry, sir, we can't do it now. If you are handling a customer who is doing it with you, start saying no. One example, typical example I generally take, we always have a warranty period after any implementation, right? Actually, customers do the killing of our team in the warranty period, because warranty period means what? It means that we have to fix the bugs which are coming in the implementation we have done. But what happens is, customer give us a list of 50 enhancement, do it. Sorry, this is not a warranty period. This is not something we will do in a warranty period. We will do bug fixing, yeah, to support you. We will do five enhancement, but not 50. So be aware about what is the warranty period. So then in a personal relationship, while we create the personal relationship, which is very important, I'm not saying, I'm actually promoting that we should create the personal relationship. Many customers take the advantage of it. Sorry. I'm not getting the salary. I'm not getting my bills cleared by making by giving a free services on the personal basis. Sorry, I can do it one thing. I can do one thing for you. Okay, fine. I'm making a relationship with you, but not everything. We will kill you because we have to clear our bills also, right? We have to get our salary checks as well. So be strict towards, and this is a don't. Very, very clear don't, that while doing the account management, because we think that customer is successful, and to make the customer successful, let's do more and more and more and more services without getting money from them. Actually, you are getting into a loop, a big loop, big mistake you are doing, because you will do it today, they will ask you tomorrow, and then they will ask you every time. So don't get into this loop. One enhancement is fine, but not 5 or not every time. Yes. I really liked, I won't shy away. I really liked a work done in SBI Cards, where if I could have been in the chair of Piyush or Charan, guys, take it positively. I just taking few names. I'm not saying you are not doing it. So rather than being in place of Charan or let's say Charan, probably I could have said, okay, I will do it myself, okay, fine, sir, we are a customer success company. But what Charan did, Charan took a step and got one small CR. Great example. And now customer, actually it became a habit now. So customer asked something and they said, okay, raise a change request. I wanted to do it, but raise a change request. This is now a habit. Even they are not asking us doing the free work. So guys, very important, right? I know there are multiple examples. We got lots of change requests from Mphasis and many other customers. But yes, at many customers we didn't get anything. And then what happens is they get advantage of it, and they think this is they actually take us for granted after it. So never get into this loop. And don't cross sell, smart sell. I think I will cover it up in the next. So guys, these are the few don'ts. I hope it makes sense. And this is more of an awareness session. My take is you don't do anything or everything, but this is a very important point, that don't give free services. There is no free lunch in this world, right? You can give a cookie with just one cookie with a coffee, but not the whole lunch, right? Then what we said, there is a limit of spending in a particular department with a particular person. So reach out to different people in the organization. It also mitigate the risk of the retention. Referral, take the indirect revenue from the customer. Stuck with the wrong stakeholder is a very big mistake again. So these are the few don'ts. What are the do's? Marketing. So guys, I'm telling you 50% battle you will win if you do the right marketing in the account. We don't do it today. I accept it. So there are two types of marketing. One is downstream marketing, another is upstream marketing. Downstream marketing is being visible to them. Out of sight is out of mind. This is the downstream marketing. So be there. Keep sending them something every quarter, every month. Keep a meeting without agenda. Say hi, hello. Complete it in 5 minutes. That's fine. That will work, right? But be visible. One example I can tell you, nowadays I'm pushing Swati, who leads our campaigns and all that. I'm asking her to reach out to all of you. And she runs lots of campaigns in the market. She will send the same campaigns to you. Your duty is just forward it to your customer. That's all. Just forward it. Don't do anything else. So simple is CSDM campaign we are running right now. Send it to your customer saying that, sir, we have got something new from ServiceNow, CSDM framework, CSDM, not a framework, best practices for CMDB. Look at it. There is a white paper attached to it. You want a demo, you wanted to talk about it. You have done your part. Downstream. Upstream is a very focused marketing. So we find, okay, there is a procurement team, or there is a asset management team. And now this asset management team is facing a problem that they manage all the assets in the Excel sheet. So we will send them very targeted content. That's the upstream marketing. So downstream marketing and upstream marketing, right? 50%, believe me, 50% you are done as soon as you will start doing it. I take a very simple example today. There is a customer called BCG. Recently, I talked about this is not a potential customer for me. The only thing I'm doing with BCG is every 6 months, not even quarter, every 6 months or every four months, I will say, three meetings in a year. We did an implementation for them in 2018, 2019, and mid of 2020. Within last 1.5 years, what I did, every 3-4 months, I'm talking to them, nothing, just hi, hello. I'm sending them something. Today they came and they sent us an email that I have an opportunity. I wanted to give it to you. Second thing, 2 months back, they came themselves saying that, hey, in my new department of BCG, we are targeting something. Can we do it using ServiceNow? Why it happened? Just because downstream marketing. Without expectation, I was just sending them something, right? And they came to us with 2 proposals. I'm sending them 2 proposals in next 2 days. Upstream, we do very focused. That's something, you know, we have to reach out to our department, think about what they need. So that's lots of effort is required. So that's one. That's you have to do every time. What else? Networking with the other departments. I think this is very clear. Ending bad customer relationship is not uncommon, right? If you find the customer has all these traits, right? Bad apple traits. I think it is better to call it off rather than continuing with them, putting lots of effort. They will make lots of noise. Better to end the relationship, or better to just give them very, very specific, services to them. And how you can do it? It is your customer. You can't just say, no, I won't work with you. You can't do it. You can't be, so direct. But one thing is, a very feasible approach is, you say that the resources are not available, or even if they need 5 resources, 3, though the work they have given us only for 1 resource, but they need 4 resources. Say, sir, I'm not getting the resources from the company, right? Automatically this will cut down. I will just take one example here. Comcast was a company which discovered that 1% of their customer base, right, is actually using 28% of their bandwidth. Think about it. 1% using 28%. And this is very common, guys. With you, there will be lots of noise making customers, right? If they are just making noise and there is no value, if there is lots of value, they are making noise, it makes sense that we have to work for them. This is a big customer for me. They have all the rights to make the noise at the right place. But if it's a small customer, no potential, he's sucking our bandwidth, then there is no point, guys. I think we should restrict our bandwidth there. And believe me, by cutting this 1% customer base, they saved 28% bandwidth. And rest of their 99% customer become very, very happy, because this 28% bandwidth got distributed in those 99% customers, right? Yeah, I think I've already talked about it, that the most common metrics is not upsell, it's cross-sell. So we have to do more cross-sell rather than upsell. Guys, any question here? Any example you wanted to take up? Because in the next two or three slides, I will cover up in next 5 minutes, and we are also approaching towards 7:30. But I wanted to hear more in terms of, are these valid? Have you experienced it or not? I think I've taken very, very practical examples here, and took the stories-driven examples rather than very straightforward examples. You wanted to share something at your end? No one wanted to share something? No, we don't have any experience like that. Only I had these experience in the company. Someone who is not talking in the session, please wake up. Take a bold step and speak. Otherwise, I have all the rights to take the names. So better you take a step forward and talk about.
So Himanshu, I would say that yes, I have witnessed almost every point that you have mentioned here, and it's a really practical thing. And the worst scenario which I faced once was from my past organization. I'm sure if it is okay to take the name right now, so I will not take it, but it was a premium customer for us from the US. It was a bad apple, which we did not realize initially, and it is true that almost 40% of the bandwidth at that point of time was dedicated to this particular customer, and we implemented multiple modules for them. And after almost 6 to 8 months of doing all those things, one day they simply woke up and they said, no, I don't want any. They asked for many concessions, But one day their management also came in and they said we don't want any customization into our instance, and now we want to roll back to the vanilla instance. So at that point of time, there was a lot of trouble which began, and ultimately we lost that customer as well. But yes, I mean, whatever mentioned here that I have witnessed in this particular thing. Also, I have a that mentioned don't, and in this don't, the fourth point is related to the warranty period. So this is a real issue that in the warranty period only means to fix the bugs which are coming from the scope application that we have built for within the scope things that we have built and what have moved on a production instance for them. But what happens is that they come up with the new enhancement at this point of time.
Exactly.
So how to convince them that because I have faced this many times, because whenever we say no at some point of time, I mean we have to say no. We can accommodate something but not everything. So when we do that, they reach to the higher level and then they reach to the another higher level, and then ultimately it comes that we have to do it. So how to convince them on this?
Okay, so warranty period, very important point is setting the expectation right from the start. Okay, to the senior management as well as the people with whom we are working on day-to-day basis. So while we doing this, production checklist, right, before going live, 15-20 days before we do the production checklist, this should be a point in the checklist saying that setting the right expectation that what is expected from us during the warranty period, because it is better to clear it beforehand rather than be in the situation. Because after being in the situation, what we will do? It is a postmortem after that, right? It's something you have to do that. So it's more of a setting up the expectation from day one is about warranty period, even if while doing the kickoff presentation, right? From that day, if we can set up saying that warranty period, what does it mean? In the kickoff presentation itself, I think every one of you have went through how we create the kickoff presentation, and you will be creating the kickoff presentations. Just put a checklist there that we will set up the expectation on the warranty period on that day, and then be vocal about it and the end of the while before going live as well, so that there is no confusion. Okay. So guys, I'm moving on to my next slide. I think few facts and figure I wanted to talk about. There is a myth which I talked about here, customer success. Customer success is not a trick for customer growth, account growth. Basically, if you see like 88% account managers have agreed to it. And this survey has been done on 20,000 plus account managers globally. That only customer success, by just doing the customer success, I will go back. On this slide, if you see, customer success is here, right? Account growth is associated with it, but it is not on top of it. What does it mean? 88% account manager says that customer success does not contribute to the customer growth. It supports, but it does not. It's support in what? It support in the retaining the customer, not in the growth of the customer. So while doing the account management, make sure that you are not in a trap saying that, I am doing a fabulous job. My customer is very happy with me. That means if you are saying so, that means you are saying that your customer will retain with you. But the customer growth, because you have to go to different departments, different stakeholders. You have to do the cross-selling. So to do that, there's a different mindset. And mindset, as I said, it should come in your day-to-day things. It's not that something, it's not something you will have a switch on and switch off. It won't work. Do it on day-to-day basis. and then you see the result here. So what I wanted to show it here, the customer growth, it help you in retaining the customer, but not in the growth of the customer. Okay. So what is our final thing? Final things are our steps. You know, now we have understood do's and don'ts, right? We have understood our responsibility. We have understood that customer success is not the customer growth or account growth. We have also understood that they can't take us lightly, and we have to save our bandwidth for the account management, right? These are the few steps. One is identify your customer. That's the step number one. Potential customer. Step number two is measure the customer health. So rather than looking at the CSAT or NPS, there is a new metric called customer improvement score. What does it mean? What do you mean by customer improvement? Anyone can talk about it? What do you understand by customer? Let me tell. Looking at the time, customer improvement, customer success is a separate thing. Customer improvement, what does it mean is deliver future focused, supplier agnostic message on customer or to the customer, how they can improve their business, right? Improving the business. So customer improvement is how we are helping them in improving their business, and it actually secure both retention and growth. So rather than focusing on customers, just customer success, we have to focus on how we can help them in improving their business. If we can just do it, their retention and growth will come automatically. See here some metrics. Look at the customer retention. If aggressive selling, only aggressive selling, and this is the customer improvement, 94%, right? So account managers saying 94% account managers are saying if we can focus on customer improvement, we can do both the things. However, if we just do selling, customer retention goes on toss. If we just focus on customer success, we only do customer retention. But we have to do both the things, and to do both the things, improve their business rather than just I have delivered a very successful help desk project. I have delivered a very successful software asset management project. I have delivered very successful ITOM project, right? Discovery, or I have set up a very beautiful CMDB. But if this CMDB is not helping them in improving their business, if you can't drive that, correct? If you can't drive, if you have to do a cross-selling, in the cross-selling, you wanted to sell, let's say, customer service management module. If you can tell them how this customer service management module will help them in their business, how they will become a future focused by doing this, right? Believe me, you are not going to grow that account. So the focus is improving the customer. So customer improvement is the concept, guys. Let me go back. So we have to collect slowly and gradually customer improvement score. So let me just correct it. It is not only growth, it is retention plus growth. And net promoting score or CSAT and all that, whatever we are doing is just retention. Then team effort. The whole CIS, customer improvement, is a team effort. You can't just do it alone. So you have to involve lots of other people proactively. Don't wait saying that pre-sales or sales will come to me. Involve them. Ask them to help you. So this is the duty of a account manager, especially delivery heads, especially the people who are focusing on a particular account, that growth-oriented account teams. Means your delivery team is also growth-oriented rather than just delivering something. Fourth point is, these are the steps. So first step is identify the customer, monitor your customer, measure your customer, make a team. While focusing on team building, I generally focus on, build your team. But your team should also be very, very well oriented that what you are expecting from them. Then fourth point is effective account teams collectively drive customer improvement. I have talked about it here in detail. What is customer improvement? So then this is marketing point, which I was talking about. So first do a heat map. And number of you are creating the heat map nowadays. I'm actually forcing you to create the heat maps, because without heat map, you can't do upsell and cross sell both. When you don't know the stakeholder, what you will do, you will always stick to a person. You will stick to the wrong stakeholder, right? So heat map will help you to go to the right people in the organization rather than stick to a particular person. If you don't have the heat map, forget. Believe me, you can't do upsell, cross sell. You can't grow the account. That's after identifying the account. This is very, very important. Then learn from other customer. You might be having 2-3 customers. Learn from one customer, implement it in another. So give them ideas that I can do it for you. Focus on the value outcome presentation, right? Business side, business, as I said here, improve the business. So focus on the business side rather than, you will get this dashboard, you will get that dashboard, you will get the reporting. Don't be transactional. Talk about how your business will improve. Either you will cut the cost, either you will increase the revenue. Better is increase the revenue rather than cutting the cost. And finally, it is the customer improvement consulting bit. We are an advisory oriented company. So we do the consulting based improvement. And very, very important, let me tell you, this is my last statement for this presentation, and very important. Customer himself or herself does not know what value he can drive from ServiceNow or any other tool he has taken up. They don't know the use cases. They don't know the revenue they can get out of it. They don't know what the cost they can cut out of it. Believe me, I have seen hundreds of customers today, including a big customer like Airtel. We reach out to their CHRO and shared services team. We shared them that, okay, ServiceNow can do this. You know what? The next call they asked us, okay, tell us the use cases. We are not able to imagine the use cases where you can help us. What is the value we will get out of it? There is another customer, Jindal Steel. I gave them the presentation of ServiceNow. This guy is clueless. What he will achieve out of it. Then I explained him back to back that this is the revenue you can get. This is the cost cutting you can get. Why not create a wrapper on top of SAP, right? If you will do it, SAP, you take 3 months to create a workflow. In ServiceNow, I can do it in 7 days. You're cutting your time from 3 months to 7 days, and think about the process you will get. It's not only about revenue and cost, but yes, you have cut down your cost from 3 months to 7 days. One good example I have taken there, right? Then not only just be there. Say what else ServiceNow can do. What else my solution can do to you. Not only this wrapper around SAP, but I can become a one single stop shop if I integrate with your IoT solutions also. Then he realized, okay, ServiceNow can be a wrapper, also a single shop. It can integrate it with 10 more systems. Then he was able to imagine how it can cut my cost, how it can help me in the industrial automation, right? And he was clueless before. So it is our duty to tell customer that, while I am explaining you customer improvement, one is do the consulting based improvement rather than just tell them, take ServiceNow, it will help you. It won't work. Consult them, tell them what are the value you will get out of it. So do the value outcome. How you will get the value outcome, learn from different customers. I'm going back. Now this is a re-engineering. And not re-engineering, from last step to the first step. Segment your customer, build your team, measure them, and identify your customer. I think these are the 8 steps you have to do while doing the account management. So guys, I think I'm done with my presentation. I hope you have liked it, and I am here to hear from you. We are 9 minutes over, but that's fine. We can take another 5 minutes and consolidate it. I wanted to hear from you. Did you learn something, or you wanted to share something else? Please be open. Or you can share what are your top learnings. If you have understood something, what are your top 1 or 2 learnings? You can speak up and then we can consolidate.
So actually, I just want...
Yes, please.
Please.
So today we learned about upsell, cross-sell, and how to generate the revenue. What is customer success? What is actual the growth? And customer success is not related to actual the revenue growth. So all these terms we learned today, and how to do the account management, how to pitch in the customers, and how to, the marketing is the best key for the sales. So all these small things, and actually not small, it's these are big things, but in a small 2 hours training we learned many things. So I think it's very beneficial for us.
Great. What is your top learning, Charan? One top learning?
One top learning is how to do the account management, actually, because first time I'm doing this, first time I'm working for this profile. So actually this training is very beneficial. I learned how to do this account management.
Awesome. Okay. Who else wanted to talk?
Sir, Pradhiman.
Yeah.
Sir, actually, the main thing I learned today is that actually right now I'm into the business development. I'm also a part of development team. So I'm also regularly connecting with many of the customers. So the main thing is to focus on the right customer at the right time. This is the main learning. From my recent example, I can take from today's presentation, I can compare my different accounts. So I find out that we can easily find out who is the targeted audience, who is the more focused customer, like Novartis and AT&T are more growing customer where we can generate more business from them. And there are few more other accounts from we have to less focus on them to save our bandwidth and our efforts from where business is not.
So if I just consolidate what you have said is identify the right customer rather than running behind every customer, right? Identify the customer, and then in each customer identify the target audience. And second thing I will add again is marketing. So if you have identified the customer, you know whom to reach out. Keep doing your marketing. Keep sending them something every time, and you will see the magic. You probably won't agree to me today, but you will see the magic. And it may take 6 months, it may take a year, but automatically the sales will come to you. The growth will come to you.
It's the same thing by sending different email campaigns, which you suggested right now, and getting the result from them.
Yeah. Okay. Nakul, you wanted to say something?
Himanshu, Pradhiman covered that point. I wanted to say that very important to identify the bad apples so that it can actually save us a lot of bandwidth and justify the cost that we are for the efforts that we are putting in.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, so one quick thing, guys, like for marketing, I know we just mentioned that Swati is doing a lot of campaigns, but we don't need to, during your account management, you don't need to wait for Swati to send you something. A very simple example is we became technology partner. How many of your customers know that we are? That's a marketing step. You can just simply shoot an email, tell them, you know what, guys, we are growing and we just became a technology partner. Or we have just one more thing under our belt. So that helps. That's all.
Yes, that helps a lot. Yes, I agree. I mean, we do not really need Swati to send you something. That's something a help you are getting from Swati. But you have to do it. This is your responsibility to do the account management, and in that, just keep sending something. Even if you have read something, send them an email saying that, hey, I learned something last week, thought to share. That's all, and you are good to go. What else, guys? Anyone else wanted to talk something else which we have not covered, or your learning?
Today I learned a new term called Customer Improvement Score, CIS. So something sounds interesting to me, so I'll work on in that direction.
Yeah, automatically, Piyush, my plan is, while working with you on the account management, nowadays you are seeing that I'm asking you to create those, PPTs, deck, one person, one customer, right? So I asked you to cover up the CSAT, but my next measurement will come to see customer improvement.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. And what is customer improvement, guys? Anyone can talk about it. One line. What does it mean? What we understood by customer improvement?
Wherein we are focusing that the values which the implementations we are doing are also adding up to their and making some value add, and their processes are improving with that.
Not that. Exactly what it is. What is exactly customer improvement? It is improving their business. That's it. If you can help them in improving their business, and then there is a step, you have to show them value, this, that. But the intention is improving their business. Double quote, improving their business. That's it. Right? So let's close this call, guys, with some last few things. So we have to identify our bad apples. We have to identify our good apples. We have to, there are do's and don'ts. We can't be in a loop giving them services on a personal note and then we suffer later on. 5% here and there works. Warranty period, we talked about it. We never, if we find there is a customer who has a potential but not getting the direct growth from them, we can take the referrals from them. Airtel is a great story in that. Make a habit that we get lots of change requests from them. SBI card is a great example of it. We sometime when customer is sucking our bandwidth, put a limitation. A very gentle way of doing, saying no is that, say I don't have resources to work upon it, right? Start saying no to them. And customer retention and customer growth are two different mindset, and this mindset should come to us on a day-to-day basis rather than it's a switch off and switch on story. So it will go hand in hand, but with a different mindset where customer retention is more come from customer success, but improving their business mindset give you the new growth, new revenue growth in the customer. And let's focus on the customer improvement index rather than just NPS or CSAT. Right? So guys, that's all from my side. I hope you liked it.
Yes, Himanshu.
Thank you very much, guys. Stay safe. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was very nice.
Thank you, Himanshu. Bye bye.
Thank you, Himanshu. Bye bye.